Welcome back. We're here with Todd from enLiven Wellness Life Coaching. Todd, how are you doing?
I'm good, Easton. Good to see you.
Yes, it's great. It's awesome weather here in Toledo.
Love
So you began your life coaching journey about 9 years ago. How did this begin for you?
Good question. It's a really good question. I used to be a school psychologist back in my former life, and one of the things I was trained in was coaching, and the coaching model, which I used in the schools to work with teams of people. I was a literacy coach, and I was also a coach for students on the autism spectrum. So for actually a coach for the teams
Okay.
there. So I helped support people that way. But I never really, after I left the profession, I never really considered coaching. I mean, I hadn't even thought of coaching being something else
Yeah.
other than like a sports coach or something like that. So it never really crossed my mind until a few years later when I was working on, I was using an app to help instill habits. And on this app, they rebranded at some point, and they asked some of the people who had been, really involved had been really doing well with their habits, had been checking in and doing well with their habits. They offered to train us as coaches.
Yeah.
So then it like clicked for me. I'm like, oh wait, that coaching thing that I used to do as a school psychologist, that's like a real thing.
Yeah.
That's a job that some people do. And I thought, okay, this is pretty cool. So I went through some of their free training, and it was, they wanted you to work on their platform. So I did that a little bit. It was all text-based. I knew that I didn't really want to do it that way, but it did spark the idea for me to do it on my own.
Yes.
So yeah, that's it was just like, my mind just opened up and thought of all the possibilities that I can actually
Yes.
do something with this.
And how can someone take their life from living a life that's like maybe like undesirable to the life that they actually want to live?
I mean, I really think it starts with being able to picture yourself outside of the box that you're currently in. I mean, sometimes that change is just such a small thing. Sometimes it's just a thought switch
Yeah.
of thinking about something in a different way and not necessarily changing a lot about your day-to-day life. Other times it's really a big shift of something else, but really being able to kind of picture what it is that you want. As I think we oftentimes focus on the problems, the things that we don't want, and get stuck with that, stuck in that
Yeah.
box. So it kind of helps sometimes to be able to think outside of that and just reframe where we're at, and start to look at it in terms of what we would like life to be like really picturing yourself in it. What is that life going to be for you? Like who am I surrounded with? What's my day-to-day life looking like? I mean, even, where am I living? What's my house like? What kind of
Yeah.
car am I driving? Even the little things. What foods am I eating? Just the little things, really kind of trying to picture yourself in that different format, and then put in place the steps to get from where you are to where you want to go. Sometimes that can be overwhelming. I mean, you
Yeah.
may have thought of that at
Yes.
times in your life, to think, I don't know. I don't know how I'm ever going to get there. And that's just kind of really, I see that that's where it helps to work with a coach, to have them help you back off a little bit, to go from, because when there's too big of a gap, we tend to
Yes.
shut down and give up. I can't do this. So to walk some steps back, like, what does your life look like in 2 months from now, knowing you're not going to be at that end goal, but what might happen, what might you do over the next 2 months that are going to change and move you in that general direction? So kind of incremental steps to get them toward
Yes.
that bigger goal.
And I like how you talked about like the little things, because I think a lot of people, they overestimate, or they overestimate, the huge things that they can do, but they underestimate the little
Yes.
things that they might be good at, or the
Absolutely.
little things that they have in their life.
Yeah.
And I think this all starts with being able to express yourself, especially to a coach, or your problems. Why do you think some people are very good at expressing their feelings or their problems or the things they're going through versus others that might not be?
I mean, a lot of it's just personal experience, personality, that's a big part of it often, dealing with those things. And just like being who you are, which, that part doesn't matter as much. Some people are just more expressive
Yeah.
than others, and they see, things in like different, brighter language than other people. And other people are kind of more, maybe, I don't know, I want to say introverted isn't necessarily the word I'm looking for, but have a hard time like with the expression piece of that, which, it doesn't mean it's not there. That's where sometimes working with a coach, or, I mean, any professional that supports you, um, needs to be good at asking curious questions.
Yeah.
So even if you don't have all the words to explain what you're looking for, they can ask the questions to get like that next little bit of information out of you. And then sometimes it's hard because you just don't necessarily have a clear picture, so it's hard to express what you don't really see yet. So just the little bits of that language that a coach can help pull out of you will help you express that, whether it's in language. So some people, it's not the language piece of it that they're going to be most expressive with. Some people are really gifted at art, or music. They can express it in different ways
Yes.
that isn't necessarily in words. It's hard to communicate to somebody, or, as I am not all that artistic, so it's, to communicate back isn't strong for me. But if you have a piece of art for me that you're showing me to kind of express, your wants, your needs, and that sort of thing, I can still see that and go, oh, tell me about this element
Yes.
of this, and then that helps elicit more of that language, that communication between, coach and client.
And what do you think someone can do to take themselves from a follower to a leader?
Well, there's a classic kind of statement about follower, or about, it's not the person, it's not the person who does the first thing. It's the person that the next person that comes along and follows them into that makes somebody a leader. Um, so it takes to make a movement. You've got to have followers to a degree. And now there's a difference between, it's okay to be a follower. Some
Yeah.
people are more of a follower. They want some comfort in knowing that somebody else has done that. I mean, that's okay. Now, I guess being a sheep is different. It's blindly following that I think you don't want to be. And then, there's being a leader, a big leader leading a movement, but then there's also being a self leader.
Yeah.
Leading the self to where you want to go. And I think that comes with confidence. And again, going back to talking about big steps and little steps, taking the little steps. It's kind of looking at who you are, what your life looks like, and putting together a structure to make some change that you want to see in your life. I mean, I've had clients, particularly younger clients, usually that they just want their life to change, and they're not really seeing where they're going to go. But if you were laying out their life, you're like, okay, what's your day look like? I stay up until whenever gaming,
Yeah.
and then I get up whenever, and then I might go to the gym. I might hit the fridge and see what I have in there, and maybe I'll sit on the couch, watch TV for a while, or I might, to be a self leader, it's to give some structure to that
Yeah.
day, and saying, okay, no, I go to bed at this time, I get up at this time, and these are the things that I'm going to do in those waking hours that are going to lead to something meaningful. If you want a game, by all means, schedule in an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, but don't just indefinitely sit down and veg out, and you're not going to find success in leading yourself if everything is just fluid and I do whatever the next moment brings me to. I mean, that's a personality type, and I can respect that if it's somebody who is just loves that flow into their life, of letting life letting life lead them where it goes, but that's different than sitting on your couch and gaming all day.
Yeah. And you also talked about like changing people's lives, and I think that's your whole goal of why you do what you
Yeah.
do. When you get those testimonials saying that, Todd, you changed my entire life, how does that make you feel?
I mean, it's great. I didn't do it though. I didn't. I'm not the one that changed anybody's life. I was just there and helped support them and created a trusting environment that allowed them to take the steps to change their life. So, I mean, but it does feel good. It feels,
Yeah.
I mean, I love it when my clients come back to me saying, you know what, I did not believe that this could happen. Like, I didn't believe I would be where I am right now. I had one former client, my first, call me, I think it might have been last year, reached out to me on Facebook or something and said, hey, do you remember what my goal was when we first talked? And I'm like, I went back to my notes. I said, yeah, it was this. And then he came back with, you will not believe where I am
Yes.
now from where I was, barely making it back then to like, the success that I'm seeing right now. So yeah, that makes me feel really good, but I don't take the credit for it because
Yeah.
they did the hard work.
And how much do you think someone has to go through that suffering state in their life before they decide to actually make a change?
I mean, honestly, that's usually why it happens. I mean, I don't want to say you have to, but it is usually the thing that makes you go, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, my goal as a life coach is to connect with people before they have to experience that
Yeah.
and do the things now that may prevent that suffering. But, that the suffering truly is where most growth comes from. So,
Yes.
I don't like to see suffering, but, I think we've all done it, and it is the thing that thing that flips the switch to say something's got to change.
Yes. And has there ever been a time when you're helping a client where you helping that client actually helped you?
Always. Nearly every single client I've worked with, there is something, like, it almost feels like part of my own personal growth. My
Yeah.
helping clients is part of my own
I
personal
like that.
growth because there's something almost always that I relate to that I'm like, yep, I am now seeing something in me that I didn't recognize until you said. I mean, I don't have this conversation with them. Sometimes I do. Sometimes it's relevant. Sometimes it's relevant to helping their growth.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the time it's just like me seeing something and go, oh, okay. And I'm seeing something now that I didn't recognize before until I heard them say it or saw them experience it, that I can I can focus on this in my life.
And what is one lesson that you learned as a child that you still implement today?
Oh, one lesson I learned as a child. I don't know, is being stubborn a lesson I learned as a child? um, Stubborn isn't necessarily the word, but persistent. I guess persistence. I don't give up easily on things. I do try to. Now, so this maybe has changed since childhood because I definitely was a persistent child. Um, Knowing when persistence becomes stubbornness and not just doing something to be stubborn, but doing it because the persistence will pay off. Like, what's the cost benefit ratio of this persistence?
Yes.
Is the effort I'm putting in actually going to pay off to create something better for myself, or is this now a time to cut my losses and shift gears into something else? So, I mean, I think that's an ongoing process, honestly.
Yeah. And how has becoming a parent changed your perspective on life?
Oh, wow, yes. um, I mean, again, that's a gradual thing that's happened over the years, over the 3 kids,
Yeah.
and I think each one of them changes perspective a little bit more. But having another, life to consider, I mean, it's definitely made me healthier. Um, I mean, that's kind of where like my health focus changed, is having my first child, to think about eating healthy, um, more natural type of of living, not I didn't do a lot of medication ever in my life, but definitely my healthcare ideas changed having a child. Really, I guess focusing in more on health. I mean, that's a big part of how my perspectives have changed since having children. But yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes, I like that. You know how like you kind of are lackadaisical when you don't have them, and you're okay. Let's get my butt in gear. Let's get healthier.
yeah.
And do you believe in free will or fate?
I think I believe both. I mean, I believe there's some of, yeah, I don't necessarily believe in a scripted, fated, life,
Yeah.
that it doesn't matter what we do, X, Y, or Z is always going to happen. That said, I mean, I think a free will definitely, I think there are lessons to be learned that we have before us in our lives, and our choices kind of bring about how we're going to learn those lessons. Makes sense.
Could you expand on your belief that they coexist?
I'm gonna try to, because because it's a hard one to
Yes.
wrap my head around as I'm trying to explain it. Um, yeah, and I think there are a lot of, I think we each come into this world with lessons to be learned to further our spiritual growth. And where I don't know that necessarily one thing is going to happen in our lives, say, I'm trying to think of a good example, like a tragic loss. Let's say a tragic loss is going to happen, like death of somebody close to you or something like that. It's, as an example, I'll try to be more specific. Where I don't believe that necessarily means that that thing is going to happen. Um, you know, based on our choices, our decisions, that sort of thing. But something like that gets at that same push for growth will happen, whether something that's really big or really small, depending on kind of the choices that we've made in our lives, to further our own spiritual growth.
Yes.
I don't know if that
No,
gets into it
that
more.
was good. That was good. I have two more questions.
All right.
If you could have dinner with two people, one person from the past and one person from the present, who would it be and why?
Oh boy. Well, let me think. Someone from the past and someone from the present. You might have to edit out a big section here, because I'm gonna have to take a minute to think about
My
it.
last guest, Corey, took 5 minutes on this, just on this one
Nice.
question.
Boy, I should have thought about that one prior. Let me think. I want it to be actually somebody real and relevant.
Yeah.
Like, I love history, but I don't necessarily have idols. I can think of things that other people would probably choose, from the past. And I don't want to be cliche either. Well, maybe if I go down the psychology route here, like someone like Carl Jung would be really interesting from the past to get an idea about. Yeah, actually, boy, now I say that, Carl Jung, just because of his how he evolved out of the psychoanalytic movement, and kind of how because I'm, in spirituality is important to me, and he's often seen as kind of like a psychological foundation to our views of spirituality. I think it would be really fascinating to ask him if like how that evolved. Like, did that are we taking his work that was much more really grounded in like on in the to the earth, and if we've turned it into spirituality, more into spirituality than it was as he was coming up with it, or that would be really fascinating. But the other one too from the past, speaking of suffering, Viktor Frankl, I mean that fascinates me too, how he survived what he survived, and seeing he gets into it in Man's Search for Meaning, the people who survived and the people that didn't. Obviously, some didn't have a choice about surviving, but then there were also some who didn't survive by, I don't want to say natural causes, but didn't survive a lot because of, as he, I think, kind of made clear, because of mindset and their belief about their circumstances. That is such a fascinating idea about what we believe, how what we believe impacts us.
Yeah.
And I guess someone from the present, I'd love to have a sit down with Martin Seligman, the founder of positive psychology.
Okay.
There's I'm definitely a positive psychology. That's the kind of the focus of my practice. There are criticisms of it out there, and I think they are misunderstandings of positive psychology. But I would love to have a sit down with him and get his take on it, because man's a pessimist. Man is born a pessimist, yet he's the founder of positive psychology. To get his take on what some of the criticisms are, and how he views those criticisms, if they are a misunderstanding of like his underlying concept of what positive psychology is.
I like that. Those are 3 new people. We haven't had those. I like those. I have one more question.
All right.
Why did you decide to partner with us and offer the discounts?
Because I want to be accessible to as many people as I can. I mean, like I said, I love seeing people find success, and I can't help them find success unless they can find me. So if I can be seen by your crew,
Yeah.
if I can be seen by more people, then I can help more people. So it's important to me to be accessible and have people find me, and so I can support people in the growth that they want to do.
Yes, I like it. Thank you. That's other questions I have. How can people find you, and what is one thing you want to leave people with?
One thing the one that they can find me, enlivenwellnesscoaching.com is my website. I am not great on social media, but I'm trying. So I have a Facebook page, Enliven Wellness Coaching, Instagram, Enliven Wellness Coaching, I think. I don't remember what, but Enliven Wellness Coaching or Enliven Wellness, one of those two. I do have a TikTok too, under, I think, Life Coach Todd or something similar to that. I want to do more on those things. I'm not doing a lot now, but I would like to do more. So those are ways that that people can find me. I just like to leave people with, first, it's okay to be not okay. It's also okay to want to strive for more than just okay. And you are where you are, and find the support that you need to be in a place that you are comfortable and hopefully at some point thriving, wherever
Yes.
that is on the spectrum of mental health care, whether it's therapy or whether it's coaching. It's all a spectrum of mental health care, and I want everyone to have the kind of support that they need.
Yes. Well, Todd, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah.